Good time to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Blue Table Talk, and I'm your host, Deborah Jones, along with my co-host, Toya Ozan. Hey, Toya, how you doing
Hello.
today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I haven't seen you in 24 hours. But nevertheless, we're
Mhm.
back on today and we'll be back on tonight. So anyway, today we have one of our candidates who's running for mayor. We have James Eller. Hi, James. How are you today?
Hey, how are y'all? Doing
Great.
okay?
Fine.
All right.
Yeah.
I gotta
See,
remind myself to say today because I'm so used to come on at nighttime. I'll probably say tonight. So it
right,
doesn't
right.
matter. It doesn't matter. So anyway, we're gonna talk to you in a few minutes. Let me do a little housekeeping and let me tell them about my mission statement. Why I do this, why we do this is to enhance our learn and to enhance and ensure my listeners with the guidance and understanding about what's going on in today's society. We want to educate them and to entertain the truth in all aspects and nurture the beauty of each issue, whether it be through health, education, ministry, healing process, or whatever inspires them as we help the world be a better place in our community, our nation. So that is our mission statement. And so with that being said, let me go ahead and tell you about the voting. This it's time to vote. We're voting for our city
Yes,
elections. We vote for our mayor, our city councilman at large. We vote for city councilman in the wards. We're voting for school district. So we vote for everything right now. So this is
right.
a crucial voting system. So we need to get in here and vote. If you have not,
Yes,
if you are not registered to vote, you can still register, but you just can't vote in this election. But there will be
right.
the elections you can vote in. So, but still, get yourself registered to vote. I don't care if you have been in prison or whatever. Know the law about if you can vote and you can vote. It depends on what the crime was. And so, with that being said, let me tell you about the election. The early voting is starting April 24th, which will be next Monday, all the way through May the 2nd. And the locations are Rogers Park Community Center at 6545 Gladys Avenue, Jefferson County Courthouse lobbies in the main location at 1085 Pearl Street. We have John Paul Davis Community Center at 3580 East Lucas Drive. And we also have Theodore John Library Meeting Room, which is 4255 Annette Road. And our dates and hours are April 24th through 28th, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. April 29th, 2023, which is that Saturday, it will be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. April the 30th, we will do that Sunday, which is the pew to the pole, and from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. And May the 1st through the 2nd, Monday and Tuesday only, it will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Then you have election day, which will be May the 6th, and the polls will be open from 7 to 7. So let's get out there. You got all the time and
Oh
places to
yeah.
go. And on May 6th, all the locations will be open. So you have no
Yep.
excuse for not voting because that is your voice.
See, yep.
That helps you put whoever needs to be in place in place. So
Yep.
let's talk. We're gonna talk
See,
tonight. See, I told you I'd get that tonight. We're gonna talk today to James Eller. James, look, I know a lot of people may know you and a lot of people may not know you.
yes, ma'am.
But just for a
Yes,
little
ma'am.
confirmation, let's give a little synopsis about who James Eller really is.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm a 44 year, about to be 45, April 22nd, Beaumont resident. I've grown up and been raised here. My mom and dad passed away. She was a teacher. My dad was a engineer on the railroad. Um, I love my city. I've been involved really with a lot more city matters directly and with even text out issues for about 3 to 4 years now. I ran for at large against AJ Turner and Randy Felshaw whenever they both won back in what 20 what was that 2020
2020?
20
Yeah.
2020 I think something like that 2019 2020 and now I'm running for mayor. I'm using also the candidacy of mayor for basically information as well to enlighten individuals that probably wouldn't get the message through any other form because I ran for at large and I see how a lot of other positions are not listened to by media coverage. So we'll be doing definitely a Mayoral campaign or Mayoral forum through 12 News on the 27th. And
Mm-hmm.
also there's a Beaumont Enterprise and all the other newspapers. I think that that's mayor specific. That might be all candidates specific, or in a group. That's going to be on April the 20th. So April 20th and April 27th is going to be the two things, two more big, big enlightenments to the public about what's going on with the community. And I'm looking forward to hearing because definitely here on that Mayoral campaign forum through 12 News, you can submit just same way as here with your viewers. You can submit your questions, and I'm asking and I'm pleading for viewers to actually ask the tough questions. Let's stop asking the simple things about, oh, what do you plan on doing? Oh, I plan on working for crime better, better crime rates, where we can get those dropped. Oh, I want to get infrastructure with streets. Everybody talks about that same stuff. Let's talk about the real issues. Let's talk about a lot of things like police citizens review board. Let's talk about body worn cameras that citizens don't have access to, even after investigations are done with. Citizens do not have the accessibility to BPD body worn camera videos, even though we pay for those. We pay for the equipment through our taxpayer money. We pay for the actual police officers, daily wage or salary. But we can't access that same information. Only probably council can see some of it, especially whenever there's lawsuits, like especially like with Christopher Shaw. He was assaulted by a BPD officer, lifted up in the air, flipped upside down, and then slammed on his neck, basically paralyzing him. We need to have access to these things. And these are some of the tough issues that I try to address and bring up on a daily as much as I can through every forum. But it's also the questions that I want people to ask their candidates. Where do they stand whenever it's against regular government policy? Let's do better as citizens, as voters, because I'm a voter too. Let's do better as concerned, educated voters and citizens for our neighbors. Even those that don't vote, let's make sure that we do vote, that we make that difference for all of us because we have to gain power back from the government. And I don't mean this in a conspiracy way. I just mean that we need to do better for ourselves or we will not grow while the government grows. We should not be overpowered. And we do have liaisons, which is the council. We have those liaisons, but a lot of them fail to represent us. I sent an email to the city council about a concern that I have personally, and I had no answers back from all seven of my council members. Now, I understand that I have four representatives, which is the mayor, two at large, and one council member for the ward. But I also talked to the city council, city manager, and city attorney, and I had no response given. When I'm dealing with a crucial matter with my personal business, but I'm dealing with a crucial matter and I had no contact, basically taxation without representation. We have to have a council that addresses citizens even one by one. And we need that up there, and there's nobody there. I'm planning to do that. I'm planning to answer every citizen as best as I can or get them the information or the context that they need if I don't have it for them. I do this anyway every day as a regular citizen, but I plan to do that as a mayor as well.
Okay, good. Perfect. That was perfect. But I want to know because you ran those offices 2 years ago, the city
Yes, ma'am.
council and everything. Now, why you want to do the mayor? Why mayor?
Well, it's mainly like I say for the position. It's more over the city. I'm heavily involved in all areas of the city. It's not one particular
You
ward.
everywhere.
I
You everywhere.
yes, yes, yes. I still also feel like being. I know a ward is a position that's needed per se, but I feel as if I was running for ward, I would still represent the other ward. I wouldn't care about stepping on toes. I mean, if something has to be done, it has to be done. We cannot continue to close our ears and close our eyes whenever we have issues. Like I expressed, I said that I looked out for text dot issues. There's three main text dot repairs that kept on, having issues. There was a manhole cover on coal. Got that solved, got that cemented in where now the cover doesn't pop up every time a delivery truck runs over it. The dip over there on MLK, right there above Van Buren or the Irving overpass. It's in between Van Buren
Mhm.
and Irving area. That's now fixed on the inner lane going into Beaumont because I kept on calling them for 2 months, even though that same lane had that problem for at least 10 to 15 years. Whenever I started working at ExxonMobil, I noticed that there was an issue for individuals that while we pulled up to Florida in the red light to make the U turn to come back onto Olin Road to go down to the plant, I noticed that people were trying to just cut in line and they were turning real fast and cutting over the median. Well, I ended up talking to TxDOT and I got pylons secured and installed to stop and make it more safe for travelers. I mean, somebody could have just cut across that median and didn't notice a vehicle coming head on and could have got sideswiped. So I'm saving lives as well as addressing minor and major infrastructure repairs. And I'm doing this as a citizen. Uh, Over there at the Cove Apartments, was it? Yeah, Cove. It's the elderly assistance living over here on East Lucas. Whenever the Beaumont Housing Authority didn't have management out there, or the management out there just didn't address that there was elderly, they were having to walk over inch to half inch to inch thick ice. I think it was 2021. I noticed it, and I went ahead and went over there, and I scraped the entire parking lot actually with a shovel. I busted up all the ice, and I scooped it out away from where individuals would get into their trucks or cars, and then along all the sidewalk because fire department even showed up eventually for a call there. Well, if they had to, bring an elderly person out on the stretcher, firemen could have hurt themselves slipping on the ice. They don't have ice boots with spikes or nothing like that. So I'm involved in the community throughout a lot of things. There's water and sewer issues that I maintain and take care of and draw attentions to if I'm not heavily involved in it, like on the spot that day. The residents of Beaumont, I can not with arrogance, but I can say appreciation or thank you because there was no council member or no administration person that was looking into the policies and procedures to water cutoffs. A buddy of mine got cut off, and they got cut off on a Friday, even though they paid their water bill. The hiccup with the city computers ended up taking the money, but out of the bank account showed the draft, but they still had a water turn off. So they ended up having no water for the weekend. So I pushed for that change. Somebody heard me. There was a 7-0 vote to change water turnoffs from Monday through Friday to now Monday through Thursday. No more turnoffs on Friday, so you don't have to come home on a Friday sweaty, dirty from work or from a baseball event or whatever it might be, at the Mardi Gras or whatever, and come home to find your water off because the city will not cut off your water on a Friday any longer. If there's a holiday on a Thursday, they will only cut it off Monday through Wednesday, and the next makeup day for the city should be Monday. Now, if they do it, they're doing it out of their own policy, out of the policy that now they're supposed to be practicing. So I pushed for that. I had it changed. I'm the one that thought about it. So I'm already making change for 114,000, 115,000 residents as a citizen, and we all can do it. I don't just point out that I'm doing it. We can all do that if we push for betterment, and I want to empower the citizens to do that.
So how do you plan to reach minorities in our
Well, I
city?
mean, I stay in the community. I'm not a West Ender. I've been born and raised in the old town of Beaumont. I have a diverse background through my youth all the way till now. I live in the North End now, and I see the troubles and I see the situations through crime, through infrastructure, through a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that we can improve by doing the basics. So
Mm.
let's address crime. So if we have crime, let's get police more involved with the community. Not we're not talking about meetings and going to the meetings to do the updates of the area. Let's talk about policing the community with individuals that stay in the community, not switch shifts and then they're on the other side of Beaumont. Let's have some of the same officers in the same area and then do off time or pay them an hour overtime to then police as not plain clothes, but still in uniform, but not, you know, I say heavy military brigade, basically belts and all that, all their weapons and all this. Go to the community, be involved directly with the community on a regular, even if the city has to pay 1 hour overtime for these officers, let them stay here, let them go engage directly with the communities that are the most at risk for having individuals that are influenced by crime through drug dealing and whatnot. I grew up in a same type of environment, so I understand it a little bit more than Robin Mouton or Roy West that are my basically uh, running, I guess adversaries or individuals running against me per se. Uh, I think that we need to do more programs in the prisons. I'm actually applied at the prison. I start training at the prison May 3rd, and I was telling Miss Toya I would like to bring to the warden. We have individuals that get arrested, but whenever they get out, then they end up coming back to the streets with no training, no proper education per se with a job. So now they start over the whole hustle basically to get back on their feet. What if we can go ahead and put classing or classes in and training in prison by having individuals do volunteer programs? That's what I would love to do is volunteer to show handyman skills. That's my trade. So if we can get individuals from plumbers unions, if we can get people from electricians unions, if we can get people to train individuals before they get out and then offer them even apprenticeships, offer them internships, which is free work, but it's at least on job training. So if we can do certain things like that and start applying or helping, like with allowing individuals to apply while they're in prison, start up a program, the city can still be involved with all this, even though it's completely different entities. Your representatives can do more. They have a bigger voice than you a lot of the times. What we talked about at the or at the candidate forum at Tacos La Bamba, individual brought up the fact that, hey, I'm having issues getting on the freeway. Well, it's text dot is what two of the council members said. It's text dot. We have no control over that. But will you actually speak up for the citizens? You can. I speak up. I call text that. I fixed 3 things so far with text that. Each and every council member can go past what they actually do as a council member for the city, and they can go and they can use their names and they can use their position to make more of a change. They can say we have 115,000 citizens that are being affected by skinny lanes. That's what the guy was asking. He was saying it's hard to get on the freeway with these skinny lanes and these concrete barriers that you can't see past. And I hate to say, Miss Mayor Mouton and Randy Felshaw both said that that's TxDOT. And then Bagita Hernandez Smith running for at large and myself, we brought up the fact that your council can still speak for you. It's no reason why they can't. You can make a call and you can have a bigger voice by saying, I have 114,000 citizens that are concerned about their safety when they get on this entrance or leave off this exit during your construction. Is there anything we can do? Can we have a public forum, a meeting to enlighten the citizens? Or can we give your questions and answers? But it's a total separation. And even though these council members are our liaisons, they're the go betweens between the citizens and the government. I don't feel that they're representing us the way that they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a
It's a
question.
lot. Go ahead, baby.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to know. So you said text dot is that that's county
Oh, that's state. That's state.
state?
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm, mhm. And state, trust me, state is it's very very receptive on TxDOT because I've called them, like I said, three different occasions, and they sent out the engineer for the Florida Street and MLK. Whenever I called, and they did the pylons there. I don't want to jump ahead without the full information. So they did the pylons there to protect citizens from getting vehicles turning in front of them or sideswiping them, coming in and T-boning them. And then after that, the MLK over Irving. I noticed it just on the pass by. I'm not no civil engineer, and I'm wondering why nobody else has done this for 10 to 15 years. All it takes is calls. So I placed calls for about 3 weeks to 2 months at the max. And I'm like, hey, City of Beaumont, water engineer. I said, hey, uh, I know what it is. You got a manhole in the middle of the road. So when you have a manhole in the middle of the road, then you have one pipe here and one pipe here that leads into that manhole right here, right? So if they aren't sealed or if they lean or break, then they end up leaking water. And whenever they leak water on the two sides, they wash out. So whenever they wash out the underground packing material, then you start getting the dipping in the road. I knew that it's not like hard to have this information or know what's going on with this structures, on our infrastructure. So on the pass by, I noticed that. I started making calls, had the city go out. They said that it's not theirs, even though it connects to their storm drain lines. They said, well, it's not theirs, it's TxDOT. So I said, okay, then I'm going to start calling TxDOT. So I called TxDOT, talked to, I think it was Keith or Kevin through his supervisor over there over road construction. He handled it well, got some engineers out, went ahead and took care of that. They have plans to now do the southbound lane. This was the northbound lane that they addressed and brought it up and flattened it out, and now they got to do the southbound lane that has some of the same washout due to that same manhole in the middle of the road. But I think that they also did. I think that they covered up the manhole. I think that they just connected the two pipes together and did without the manhole because I think there's manholes on both sides of MLK anyway. There's one on that Irving side or Jack in the Box side over on that side, and then on the other side of Irving by the train tracks, there's a manhole. So if anybody needed to go in there to see if there was lines or if the water was flowing correctly, then they already had access on both sides, so they didn't need the manhole in the middle of the road. That was the biggest issue. But TxDOT did address it. Uh, our council is not making these calls. Like I said, the ward member, if it was three or four, it's been 10 years to 15 years that roadway had been dipping. In my opinion, that's a ward issue as well. If it affects your constituents, if it affects those traveling through Beaumont, you as a council need to be aware of it, and you as a council need to address it. That's just how I feel. You're on mute, Miss D.
Sorry.
No, no problem, no problem.
Let me talk to my viewers right now and
Yes,
let me thank them for coming on. I appreciate you guys. Go
yes,
ahead and hit your share button. Let them know that James Eller is on the podcast today. That he's running for, he's a candidate for mayor, the mayor position. So everyone needs to listen to his platform and see, where is he coming from. You need to ask questions. Because,
yes,
like I said, with all these candidates, we have to hold them accountable. When they get in that office, we have to hold them accountable for what they say.
yes,
And
yes,
if they don't do it, we can roll it back and let them know, hey, we got you on camera. We got you on the
yep,
blue table talk. And so
yes,
we
ma'am.
just let them know that you've got to be accountable for what you say. And James is he knows a lot. And so, and
Okay.
you can tell that because he's going on and on, and but ask some questions. Go ahead and ask some questions. There is one question out there,
Yeah.
and it says,
Uh-huh.
what is your short term and long term plan to help revitalize Beaumont and show growth?"
Well, and like I said, it starts with the citizens. The government is going to do what the government's going to do. The
Mm,
government is going to still, we're going to be able to vote for events and we're going to be able to bring things like that to town. To me, that's not where the actual growth needs to be, because that's going to come. We're going to get events. We can easily say, hey, let's start an event. No big deal. Let's invite these people in, taco trucks, murals. This is not going to change Beaumont. It brings in a few people here and there, but it's not a drastic change. We need to address things like, excuse me, we need to address things like sidewalks that on a $36 million Washington Boulevard project, they don't connect. Whenever I looked into the actual engineer drawings, they weren't drawn in. So the sidewalks are drawn up to a point, and I was told that one was completed. It wasn't. I went back later on that night and looked. I knew it wasn't completed. You can look it on Google Maps, and you can look at 11th Street
Mm-hmm.
right in front of Monica Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, South 11th Street in front of Monica Brothers on Washington. The sidewalks don't connect, and that was the biggest one down the street from a candidate's home that said that, oh, I know that one's definitely finished, and it's not. We spent $36 million. Now half of that came from Beaumont, and half of that came from FEMA. That is a state funded FEMA. That's federal. And guess what? Sidewalks are regulated by federal. They have to be ADA compliant. We have sidewalks that stop in the middle of the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
and now people with wheelchairs have to exit into the roadway to then cross the railroad track. Well, it's just so hard, as the council member said. It's so hard to work with the railroad. I would believe that last minute, of course, because it was 5 to 6 years that this project is done, or it's not done, but looks like it's completely finished. However, there's not a sidewalk drawn in on engineering 5 to 6 years ago. It's not drawn in then. So, how would the railroad even know that there needed to be a sidewalk there if they didn't even draw it into engineering? And if there's no documentation that says from the city of Beaumont that they have actually contacted the railroad, which is BNSF, have they actually contacted them? Do they have documents? They have thousands of documents that I've tried to request, and the information does not specifically talk about sidewalks. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't specifically talk about BNSF, and it doesn't specifically talk about Washington Boulevard. We have to address the small things. We have to address those first before we start looking to invite more individuals into the city. If we have an infrastructure that is crumbling, we put a load on that infrastructure and it will crumble faster. We can't spend $1.9 million in Ward 1 for street surfacing projects and gutters to add gutters, brand new concrete box gutters, into old storm drains. So they have the old storm lines that are clogged up with oak tree roots. They didn't dig up the storm lines. They didn't send in a cutter to remove all the roots. They go out there every time there's a heavy rain on Ashley Street with a vacuum truck, and they go suck out leaves, and they go suck out debris that gets caught up on roots. But we just spent $1.9 million. It's been about 2, maybe 4 years. We
Mm-hmm.
spent that at least 2 to 4 years ago to build brand new. So you just put a brand new hole to allow the water to go in there real nice, like flowing real good,
Mm-hmm.
but you still have the clogged up artery. Who is thinking whenever they do this? Who is thinking not to go one step further and replace water valves and lines that are decayed and eroded? And then you do the 11th Street project of renewing it in front of the old, Holiday Inn and the Holiday Inn Plaza, I think, are Midtown and Market Basket. So you redid all the roadway there. We waited, I think it was like 6 months, possibly 3 to 6 months, let's say, to redo that one road, and then we had 3 water breaks on that same street within 3 months. Who is doing this? Who plans this stuff? And the only thing as I can think is the community development, which was at the time Chris Boone. He is now an
Mhm.
assistant city manager. I don't know what part if he takes part in community development anymore. There was Kyle Hayes at the time. However, there are members of council that are still there that were there from last time, and they still voted on this stuff. And they're not asking these same hard questions. Why are we taking? I come from a construction background. I've been in construction all my life.
Mhm.
I've dealt with running gas lines, and same thing is the city of Port Arthur. Whenever I was working in Port Arthur doing a gas line, running a gas line, or repairing gas lines, broke lines underneath the ground, I would ask the same question there. The city of Port Arthur would put new asphalt down, but they wouldn't contact the utilities and let them know, hey, we got a streets and drainage project coming up. We would like y'all's input on if you have fresh new lines here or if you have old lines here. Why don't you go ahead and replace your lines while we have a tore up road? And then whenever we come through and we put in a brand new road up, we won't be ripping up a brand new road for your gas line repairs, right? But
Mhm.
they didn't do that there, and they're not doing that here. So we have to have somebody that actually thinks on this level for infrastructure. We have to have somebody with that type of plan. We can't have somebody that just says that we're going to bring murals to Beaumont. We're going to continue to plant annual flowers, like not perennials that pop up every year. We won't put in plants that last. We put in annuals that die off every year, which cost the citizens money. We have $60,000 that we're spending per year on mulch, trees, grass, and flowers. We could put that to a after school program. City sponsored after school programs over the summertime and spring break to keep kids engaged instead of kids, getting out late at night and getting into trouble. We
Right.
can have a better city if we think smarter, think better. But no one there wants to listen. I say the only individual that I see that would be strongest engaged that's on the city council now would be AJ Turner. He's engaged with the youth the most, I would think. But I still don't see that push,
Right.
that push for, spending. Why are we spending here when we could be taking that money to here? No, don't worry about it because they'll ask for more money. Because when Kyle Hayes was there, he was talking about a water bill raise, and I think that that's what passed a while back. It was 2 years to 4 years ago, but that was for $43 million for bonds. Okay, but now they just now passed another 25. Just believe the taxpayers. It'd be okay. I mean, don't look at the money and see about using it over here. Let's instead just bleed the taxpayers some more. It's fine. They got money. They'll give it to us. They have to give it to us. We can't tell them no. So they're going to take it from us. So that's why I say we have to have some individuals that care more about the citizens instead of care for the government. The government's going to do what it's going to do.
Right.
Uh, we have to get to the basics though. We have to stop spending money, $125,000 and then $187,000 on two high water rescue vehicles. One was a one is a dump truck that they added $125,000 to the dump truck. It was a city dump truck, supposedly during one of the meetings. They took that dump truck, they took the bed off or the dump part off the back to put a lift gate so they could lift up individuals in wheelchairs. I'm all for it. I pushed for that 2 years before they were even talking about high water vehicles. However, I gave them a government link, and they can also get like a Constable Pollard.
Mhm.
Her lieutenant was able to get a grant. Okay, a grant, free money from the state to provide money to buy a high water vehicle. Same thing that Beaumont spent $187,000 on. So we could have got free government, and we could have had school kids at school, at the auto body shop over at Taylor Career Center, paint the truck, do the engine repair, make it make it a teachable moment. And then you can have kids that grow up and say, you know what, whenever I was 15 years old or 18 years old, I built that truck. I worked on that truck. We did that in our school. So I pushed that to Mike Getz about why not having BISD be more involved in bidding for some of the city projects, because it would be one thing, it would be cost effective. You would have kids that would be able to bid for this. The cost would be so low, they would get it. They would get the job. Then it would be a teaching, learning moment for these children to take that same skill set into the real world as a trade. I love trades. So why aren't we doing it? It makes me so angry that we're not doing the basics. It makes me passionate. I'm getting emotional. I apologize,
That's okay.
but I'm so tired of what we're not doing and what we can do. But they're not pushing this. There's nobody up there that's going to push harder than I do for every one of our citizens. I promise you that. I can guarantee you there's nobody in my same position running for my same position and many other positions that is going to push hard for the city, the citizens of the city, like I do. A lot of individuals are going to always push for the growth of the city. We cannot continue to grow this city without growing the citizens. And I don't mean by a base of bringing in thousands of more citizens with new apartments. That's going to happen. We need to build on the infrastructure. We need to handle the infrastructure. We need to also address not the infrastructure that's down below that we're not getting to. We need to address the stuff like sidewalks that we're not completing. We're wasting money, but we're going to get bled dry. We're going to just continue to reap the money out of our wallets for them because they're not looking into that. There's policy changes that we need to that we need to change. There's red tape for individuals, for small business. There's so much individuals that come to try and start up a business, but then they're completely ran through by inspection, 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 inspection. Whenever these big box stores don't get the same, they're not getting the same that these smaller companies are getting. We have to stop this. We have to be more community based, and we can do it. There's no state code that says we can't be more compassionate to our citizens or be more like humans. There's nothing that says that we can't go against what the city makes the city rules, the state makes the state rules, and then federal makes federal rules. That's it. Some overlap and govern others for funding and whatnot.
Right, right.
However, we can do our own thing. We don't have to be so hard on our citizens. I say we as a city, but I mean the city, not me or you. But I mean, this government doesn't have to be the way it's been for so many decades. Decades. We're not talking about just a couple of months or years. Decades. That's what's driving us out. That's what's pushing people out of Beaumont. The way the city acts. We have individuals in administration. The majority of the city employees in administration and police. I talked about police beatings on our citizens, which the majority of this community is minority. Set in Vider and Lumberton, it would be white, and you would see them on the news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in Beaumont, it would be minority community here. It's not because the minority community is any different than the white community in Vider or Lumberton. Troublemakers are going to be troublemakers regardless.
All this.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. But you still have to protect those same individuals because that's by the Constitution. There's unalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Mhm.
Each and every one of us has the same rights and protections as each one of us do. You know, it's I have no better than you, or I shouldn't have no better than you. I may have more better than you. And that's sad because I'm the minority here. And that's a problem because if the majority that comes across BPD is right now pointed out by the mayor, in fact, it's a majority council that could have voted all this, no problem. 4 hands, and it's a vote. They could have made body worn cameras accessible. They could have made a citizens review board to the police department accessible. But for a mayor to say that we have a 4 majority vote and you don't use it for a majority black city
Mhm.
or a minority city, I mean, it's what, 43 or 48% black. It's 37 white. It's I'm guessing on the numbers past this point, but let's say 17 to 25 Hispanic or something, and then there's Asian, Pan American, there's Indian, East, and then Native American. There's other ethnicities, right? Uh, but the percentages I'm not sure of. But it's still the group. The majority is minority represented, right? Of this entire United States is here, and we do not have that representation in council. And I would love to see somebody Hispanic on board as well to
Mhm.
speak more for the Hispanic. But it doesn't mean that each and every council member can't get off their seats and go to the Hispanic community, the Black community, the Mexican, the Asian community. A lot of individuals aren't doing it. They're just governing by the seat, and they really don't have a passion for the people.
And we forgot the
Welcome
Pakistan
back, Miss
community.
Latoya. Yes,
Hello.
yes. Well, I say East Indian, and I don't no disrespect, but as of like in
Yeah.
general, because there's so many. There's I mean Asian as in China, but then there's Asian as in Japan and then Korea. But that's why I sort of did a couple of little like Pan American, Pan Pacific stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely a big Muslim. There's a big Muslim population here that's not being represented.
Mhm.
There's all kind of individuals. There's Sikh individuals. There's also the Jewish community that's probably not being represented besides Mike Getz, being a Jewish man himself. Uh, like I said, there's a lot of individuals. This Randy Felshaw did hit that part on the head. Everybody knows that this area is diverse, and with a diverse community, we can grow. But the point is are we willing to grow, and are we willing to do what it takes to invest in also individuals? Lady, I'll mention the name, Miss Rachel. I can't think of the last name at this moment, but she's a new volunteer over at LULAC, Hispanic. She was at the Hispanic Forum yesterday, and she touched bases with me about. I said handicapped as in general, as in wheelchair bound, and that's where I was really thinking more of wheelchair bound to cross, getting back into the roadway to then have to cross railroad tracks. But she brought up a great point. She said, "What about the deaf? What about the blind?" So individuals that have to walk off of a sidewalk into the roadway, because I've seen the area like over there by Monica Brothers, the incline is not good, especially if somebody's blind. You don't know what you're stepping on.
Right.
So if
Right.
you're walking down the sidewalk and trying to be an independent, functioning individual, even with a handicap or a disability, you cannot do that in Beaumont, and that's sad. But you can do that over on Dallin Road, which really nobody uses that sidewalk. They spent $326,000 on one sidewalk, but we can't get roughly 4 to 5, maybe 6 crossings at railroads. We can't get 6 crossings, let's say. We can't get those either completed or started or finished, but we can spend $306,000 on basically 1 mile long sidewalk. It's sections of it that they filled in, but the majority of it was there, and then they added on. And they redid people's driveways, like the entrance, the 10 foot, because they had to add that in. I don't know why they couldn't just add slopes, but they added brand new driveways in for the first 10 feet or 15 feet for individuals over there on Dallin. But we can't complete the sidewalk over on Washington Boulevard because it's so hard to work with the railroad. Why weren't they contacted 5 to 6 years or prior to the project? But we also built. What's that?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We built the roadway all the way up to it. Why can't we? That's the railroad easement. I don't know how. So if the railroad tracks are here, and you build the roadway up to the railroad track where it's touching the railroad track, like an inch or two off the railroad track,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't we do the sidewalk on that side and that side? The statements that are being put out as a informative information. It just doesn't make sense.
That
I don't get it.
you said it was 300 and how much thousand?
About $326,000 after amended construction. They had to do something else, I think, with a couple of people's driveways, probably,
They
and had to add in that.
they could have fixed your
Th-
problem with that money, mama.
Yeah, hey,
You see what I'm
they
saying?
could have did so much. They actually looked for grants. They looked for grants for that, but they also, I think that they spent some probably city money on that. But one way or another, it was taxpayers' money. Grants don't come from the air, so they use taxpayers' money, grants, to do that one sidewalk that possibly, I'm not there in the morning time watching counts of heads, but there's a possibility that kids are walking. If you want to walk, you have your kids walk unsafe in this environment and this crime rate nowadays. If you're letting your kids leave that West End, Burlington, or Barrington Heights neighborhood behind HEB, if you have them walking off on their own at 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning when time changes, if you have them walking alone to Marshall Middle School, if that's still Marshall, right? Or
Right.
is it something else now?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have them walking all that way from Delaware all the way to Gladys, I don't know if that's okay or not. In my opinion, I wouldn't let my kids walk that far without walking with them. And since parents are always busy in the morning having to go to work, I don't think that sidewalk is serving the kids from Barrington Heights.
Right.
I think that was just basically to connect jogging from down Delaware. They have two brand new sidewalks that go in both directions from Dowling all the way to Major Drive. And that's used primarily for individuals that jog, even though they got hike and bike trail right behind them. And then the Gulf Terrace down the way over on Keith Road. And I can bet in the West End, in that area, they're not hurting for vehicles.
Mm.
But I know people are hurting for travel over here on my street on East Lucas. They have to pull baby strollers over railroad tracks, over all these big gravel rocks. Aldwin Samuel stated that he said that he had asked for a pedestrian crossing 10 years ago over here, but I haven't heard about it since. So if it was in your heart to push for this, you would be pushing for 10 years until you run out of breath every time that you push, because this would matter to you if you especially live right down Hellbig and turn on that same railroad track corner, left or right. It tees off, so you got to see it. So if it's on my mind to ask, and I pull up to that red light, I'm going to look at it every day and be like, I really need to work on this. I really got to get this sidewalk. I'm going to look at it to my right every day at that stoplight, and I'm going to say, I really got to get this, because Plymouth Village is right here. I know everybody doesn't have cars there, and they at one point in time for 5 to 6 years was having to walk to the nearest gas station for groceries instead of having HEB that shut down, and they took a stance of having a deed clause for 30 to 55 years. Not sure on if it's 30 or 55 years, because it was 55 years, and then or HEB never disputed it whenever I brought it up to them multiple times whenever I called them to try and get that policy changed to get that turned into a grocery store. They never disputed it being 55 years. AJ Turner said that he spoke to them, and it supposedly is 30 years. I'm not sure. One way or another, it's killing our community. I would change that policy where this would never be allowed in Beaumont again. Just like New York, the city of New York, in New York, they do not allow Walmart. They got multiple Target, but they will not allow Walmart in there because of the work trade agreements or whatever for employees. They think that that's a hard up store on employees, so they won't allow Walmart to build there. We can do these policy changes in Beaumont to stop having North End, South End, and East End with food deserts. But we won't do this because it's gonna unfriend somebody with the pocketbook. We have to make these changes, and like I said, I'm pro citizen. I'm not pro government. I actually I said it at the meeting. I don't want to be a mayor. I don't want to be a council member at all. I want somebody to listen to us, and nobody's listening to us. So the only thing that I can do is, at least if I don't win a vote, at least I can go on and try and inform individuals, inform the public, inform every citizen to be a better educated voter. We have to have that. If we don't, we're going to get lost. We're going to lose again. We're going to lose another 2 years. They're going to grow with the government, but they're not going to grow with things that really affect the citizens, like water turnoffs,
Yeah. And,
sidewalks.
and I don't mean to cut you off, James, but mom, you had a question earlier.
I did.
And you forgot what it was.
I ran my mouth.
Well, I'll go.
Okay.
I'm asking like I ask everybody else. I read your posts all the time. Beaumont, Texas Information Center. I read that all the time. So that's very, very, very informative. But the question I want to ask you is, what distinguishes you and make you the best candidate for from others, and why should I vote for you?
One, I've actually been here. You know that. I mean, you've seen my posts per se, right? Uh, I didn't just come out of the woodwork. That's it. That's one. Two is I stay on the government. Like I said, I'm pro citizen. I'm not pro Beaumont government. It's not Beaumont's going to grow. The government part is ran by multiple individuals. It doesn't have to be ran by me or ran by the next council member. The council member is the liaison to the citizen. So we have to have the actual individuals there for the citizen. I'm there for the citizen. I've always been. It proves because all the works I've done for the last 3, 4 years. Since I started my push, I've been pushing. I don't stop. I look for all kind of positive changes that we can. There was a thing brought up about you can't just point something out. Point out a solution too. I point out solutions all the time. I point out the problem and I point out the solution. I go hard whenever I do it. It's like whenever the city of Beaumont had 14 calls to one address over the span of 8 years to address the same issue. We cannot do that with 40,000 homes and apartment units. We cannot send our city employees there to keep on going to the same address for 14 years or 14 times over 8 years times 40,000 will never be done. We have to have the training of our employees for the city of Beaumont. We have to have council two members stated, I think it's more of a fear factor. They're saying how we have to continue to elect the older representation back into the council because it's like all is going to be lost. If you care so much for your city, you're going to stick around and you're going to go on an advisory council committee. That's what I brought up yesterday at that forum. Why hasn't the city started an advisory board for the council to help bring in the new council members, the new blood, the new fresh ideals? If you care so much and you get voted out, shouldn't be the last time that you see foot in City Hall besides paying your water bill. You should be able to go there as the former representatives of Beaumont, sit in a bigger, meeting and brainstorm. Have your ideals. Still continue to contribute as an elder of the community, basically. Even if I was elected and then I was only there for 2 years and then voted out, hey, nobody wanted me anymore, I would still go as long as they asked me or as long as I was invited or welcomed. I would go give them my ideals as much as possible because I still care for the community. You don't have to stop. I do that now as a citizen, so I would still continue to do it as the mayor, or even after I'm gone. That's why I push. Like I said, I vote for me because I'm all about the citizen. I'm not just here for the seat. I'm not here for the government to grow any bigger than it already is. I'm here for the citizens and the basic needs of the citizens. I've been doing it. I've been doing it as a citizen. My heart, compassion, and care is for the people. It shows because my actions is there. There's no other representative up there that can say that they do what I've done. As a citizen, I've made change to the entire city. Think about that, and you can too, I say, right? So I've
Yeah.
made that water change. I've made that change to the water policy as a citizen, but none of them can claim that. None of them has made active change before they became a council member.
Right.
None of them that has affected the entire community. None of them. None of them can claim that. None of them have proof. I made that positive impact for not just myself because it caters to me as well. I made that for the entire city because I saw it as a common, problem that individuals would come across.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm
It,
sorry, James. My
no, no,
brother
I know.
just text. No, my brother texted something and it came across my screen. So,
Okay, no problem.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were like, I thought you were laughing like, you know what? I know them counselors silly. They need to be doing more like James.
Well, that too. Oh
See how,
goodness.
see how I played that one?
Got that one on your back.
Got that one?
That one off
No,
your
but like I
back.
say, that's what I do. If you don't mind me saying though, I would love for people to be informed as much like you are, Miss Jones,
Mhm.
Miss Owens, Zone, by my page. That's Beaumont, Texas Information Station, and I got plenty of people on there that post information about Beaumont, not the bad only, not the good only, but
Yeah.
everything in between. Also, if you want to contact me, I have my phone number is 409-363-2265. My email address is for a better Beaumont at Gmail. That's FORABETTERBEAUMONT at Gmail. So, like I said, I'm really pushing for this city, even if I don't have the position. I just want to use this platform at least to educate individuals. And hate to say, I mean, the mayor position is really the one that is mostly broadcasted with the news and the news outlets. So I'm using that as a stepping platform to basically let the public know the things that we really need to investigate and do, change to. And I plan to do that. If I do become mayor, I plan to do that as soon as I hit that office. As soon as I get sworn in, I plan on raising my hand at least. That's all you have to do. It takes 4 votes to make something happen, but it
Right.
only takes one hand to go up to raise that point, and then a second hand to go up to say, you know what, that's worth hearing.
To the table.
And then the 4 votes then either vote for it or vote for against it.
Against it.
But we don't have a council right now that's raising one hand to police body worn cameras being released to the citizens, like Sunshine, Florida. Whenever I called there and I asked why did they release their videos of their sergeant attacking one of their other officers, they say because we have a sunshine law. It's anything that's viewed under the sun, you should be able to see, and we can have that here. But we choose, to hide behind it in government 552 code and 551 code. We need to stop that as a council. So, like I said, I'm willing to do that right away. I'm willing to ask for a police citizens review board right away. I'm willing to look into why we don't have these sidewalks finished right away. I'm willing to do after school programs with that $60,000 that we spend on mulch and trees and grass. I'm ready to do that right away. There's a lot of things that I'm ready to do right away, but I have to be in that position to get it done. I thank y'all for y'all's vote for mayor.
Thank you, James. The clock on the wall says it's time for us to get out here. Unless Tori has
Yes,
something
ma'am.
else to say. No. Well, we appreciate you, James, for even accepting the come on Blue Table Talk
I thank
today.
you.
And
I
you
thank
are
y'all.
very
Yeah.
it's just like your post. You are very informative.
I
So
appreciate it. I
yes,
just run my mouth a lot.
that's quite all right. That's quite all right. That's what we need to know. We need to know about things that you
Yes,
guys would
ma'am.
do when you get in office.
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
just all the
Yeah.
hogwash.
More educated.
Yeah, be more
Yeah.
educated
Yep.
about what's going on. Thank you very much. And
Can't.
to my viewers, thank you for coming on Blue Table Talk today. And we have another podcast tonight with Alderman Samuel. He's running for City Councilman Ward 3. Join us again at 6:30 tonight. And while we're doing that, I'm going to give me some rest. So if
Thank y'all very much for the opportunity.
This way, then you know that my living is not in vain. Hey, Terry.
You're
God
welcome
bless
and
you.
good
God
luck.
keep you. Yeah,
Good luck,
thank you.
James.
Thank you. Thank y'all very
You're
much.
welcome.
You're
Okay.
welcome.